Good morning. Good morning. Here we are again. This time we will be discussing the second perspective of the different various perspectives on understanding the self. Now, this is our second lecture on a series of lectures for understanding the self. So, after knowing the several perspectives coming from different philosophers on the self, it was a heavy discussion discussing all those philosophers and how they view self. This time we take a little turn, and instead of from philosophy we go now to sociology. Now, what is the sociological perspective of in understanding the self? Understanding the self, this is understanding the self from a sociological lens. Now, if in our first lecture was about philosophical lens, this time around sociological lens. No? So if we get to know some philosophers in the first lecture, this time we will get to know sociologists. No? Here, so let's go. So, introduction. So, what is a sociological perspective? When can we say that there is a sociological perspective? Now, the sociological perspective is actually a way of looking at the world. Since it's a perspective, it's something that subjective, how you look at the world. So, sociological perspective is a way of looking at the world that helps us understand how individuals, we small individuals, are influenced by the broader society. So, influence individual to the broader society. It involves examining how social structures, cultural norms, and institutions shape our behaviors, beliefs, and identities. So whether we like it or not, according to the lens of sociology, our behavior uh, are actually shaped by cultural norms, social structures, and on. So our self is actually a mirror of our culture. Rather than focusing solely on individual choices, the sociological perspective emphasizes the role of social forces in shaping human experiences. So instead of focusing on us alone, our problem, very small problem, here in sociological perspective, we consider that there is so much bigger than that at play. So we have their social structure, social norms, cultural norms, and other institutions that are present in the society. Now, sociological perspective is also very important. It's important to understand the human behavior within a social context. Using the sociological lens is crucial because it allows us to see connections between personal experiences and larger societal patterns. So, our personal experiences, we connect it to larger societal problems. We try to make our experience broad. We imagine. That's why it's called social imagination. Because from your individuality, you imagine it and spread it to the bigger picture. This perspective fosters a deep understanding of how society operates and how individuals interact within it. So, the sociological perspective also encourages us to link our personal experiences with larger social force. For example, when we examine issues like unemployment or education, this perspective prompts us to consider how economic conditions, social policies, or cultural expectations contribute to this personal experience. So, for example, we're able to experience unemployment. So that's not an isolated case. So in the sociological perspective, you look at broader issues. So, unemployment in the Philippines, why is it happening? So you look at other factors in play, not only your being individual. By making these connections, we can but better understand the root causes of individual and collective issues, leading to a more informed solution and a greater sense of social awareness. So, social perspective really will lead us to social awareness. The personal experiences that we have might be an effect of a wider experience. That's why it's there. That's why sociological perspective. Okay. Then, what are the key concepts of sociological perspective? First, you have their social structure. What are social structures? Social structure, these are patterns of relationship, and institutions. It refers to the organized patterns of relationships and social arrangements that exist in the society. Now, these patterns are created by various institutions such as family, education, religion, and the economy. Social structures also um, shape how individuals and groups interact with each other, and determine the distribution of powers, resources, and opportunities. So um, sometimes uh, causes of our individual problems is the social structure. We might be at the end of, we might be at the bottom of the social structure. That's why sometimes we cannot reach, we are not included in the list for the ayudas. But that's because of our social structure. So we have to think sociologically. If times that we are not included in some of this. And then you have also socialization. Socialization is the lifelong process through which individuals learn from or internalize the norms, values, behaviors, and social skills appropriate to their society. So socialization is a lifelong process. It is a process as you grow up, as you meet out so many people, you socialize with people, you get to know some things, and I get to learn new things, and you get to unlearn things also. That's part of the socialization process. It is through socialization that people develop their identities and learn how to function. So what we are now is we are actually a product of our socialization process. So key agents of socialization also includes family, schools, peer, media, uh, religious institutions, because these are the social organizations that we have in contact most of the time, especially religion, family really, and media. It's always there. So that is socialization. Another is we have social roles. What are social roles? What is a social role? Social roles are the expectations attached to a status position in a society. So these are behaviors associated with a particular status. Each role comes with certain responsibilities and norms that guide how individuals are expected to behave in specific situations. So, say for example, if you're a priest, you're expected to act like a priest, to behave like a priest. If you're a child, you have to behave like a child. You do not act like a grown up. For example, the role of a student involves attending classes, completing assignments. As a student, you should do that. Understanding social roles help us explain why people behave differently in different contexts. So, like for example, I myself, when I'm with the family, as a father, as a husband, I have to act that because that's my role. In school, as your teacher, I have to act as your teacher. In my relatives, when I'm an adult, I have to act like an adult, because this is my social role. Another is you have here culture. Culture is it's actually our shared beliefs, our values and norms now in the group. Uh, it shapes how individuals perceive the world, interact with each other, and make sense of their experiences. The culture is transmitted from one generation to the next through socialization. This is not written. Culture is not written. Um, it is being passed on from a certain generation to the next, usually through traditions, oral traditions. And culture is very important in maintaining social cohesion and identity within a group. So your culture identifies you with that specific social group. Now this leads us to the next key concept, social identity. Social identity is refers to how individuals define themselves in relation to social groups. How we identified ourselves, to what social group do we identify, or to what social group do we belong to, such as nationality, ethnicity, religion, gender, and occupation. No? Social identity is shaped by the social structures also, and cultural norms of the society. So if you try to look at it, these key concepts also are are very essential, and somehow they are also interrelated in a specific society, in a specific society. Then in sociological perspective, we also have four key theories. Um, these key theories are very important, no? And um, this is central to the study of sociology. So first you have their symbolic interactionism. And symbolic interactionism is a sociological theory that focuses on how individuals interact with each other in society, using symbols such as language, gestures, and objects to create meaning. So, according to this perspective, social reality is constructed through these interactions. As people interpret and respond to the symbols around them, this theory emphasizes the subject meanings that individuals attach to their experiences and how these meanings shape social behavior. So, like for example, in the Catholic Church, uh, the usual issue of other religions attack to the Catholic Church on icons, on saints. Well, of course, Catholic Church is a different culture. It's a different society. They have a different culture. So the way they treat things, the way they look at things, is beyond that. These are just symbolisms of some other things. So when they look at the cross, when they look at the saints, they revere the physical, not because of the physical, but because of the supernatural meaning of that. The supernatural meaning of that, which other religions could not understand, because they also have different perspectives. So when they look at those stuffs, they will not respect it because uh, there is no attached meaning to those. No, there is no social behavior attached to those. And that is an example of a symbolic interactionism. Another is you have here functionalism. Functionalism views society as a complex system composed of interdependent parts which serves a specific function to maintain the stability and equilibrium of the whole. So it's like body parts, hands, and our different systems in the body. No? And this perspective is associated with Emile Durkheim. He suggests that social institutions such as family, education, and religion contributes to the functioning of the society. It makes the society work together. And by giving importance and by cultivating these several interdependent parts, uh, it makes the society like a well-oiled machine. However, if dysfunction comes in any part, it could lead to social problems. So that's the functionalism. Another is the conflict theory of Karl Marx. Marx views society as beings composed of groups that are in constant competition. because of because of scarce resources, because of wealth, because of power and status. Karl Marx views the society as composed of groups in constant struggle, in constant um, competition. Though this perspective highlights the inequalities within the social structure, of course, because those who are on top of the social structure, they are the ones who have the most advantage in the resources, and all. Conflict theory focuses on the struggles between the different social classes, races, genders, and other groups, emphasizing how these conflicts drive social change and shape social structures. So, in Karl Marx, he make use of the conflict between the social classes as something that could make changes in the society, leading to uh, social change and societal structures betterment. That's why there is conflict, there's development. If say, imagine a society where there is no conflict, no? They remain with the status quo every time because uh, nobody is against how they do these things. No? If somebody contradicts, then there's conflict. Now, with conflict, there's settlement. No? There's settlement, and in settlement, there's development. No? There's development. Okay, so that's conflict theory by Karl Marx. Another is you have social imagination. This is a concept by Wright Mills that encourages individuals to see the connection between their personal experiences and larger social forces. Now, this is what we have been discussing from the get-go. That we use our sociological imaginations. From our personal experiences, we relate it to the bigger structure of the society. Because whether we like it or not, our being individual is we are part of the society. So it could be that what we are experiencing is an effect of a certain societal problem because there's a dysfunction on a certain part. So sociological imagination is to imagine not only yourself but yourself in relation to the whole community, in relation to the whole society. Now, how do we apply the sociological perspective? How do we apply sociological perspective? So first is sociological perspective will help us reflect on our personal identity. Personal identity is usually or significantly shaped by the social groups in which we belong. Our identity is shaped from our groups, our family, our religion, our friends, our school, our work closest. It provides us with a sense of belonging and influence. It influences our beliefs, our behaviors, and self-perception. So whether we like it or not, when we were growing up, our peers, our friends also had an influence on how we act today and how we behave today. Reflecting on personal identity involves understanding how these groups contribute to who we are, including our values, goals, and how we see our role in society. By analyzing the impact of these social groups, we can gain insight into ways in which our identities are constructed and maintained. So, by looking at our experience in these different social groups, now we know why we are like this. And when the first step of actually improving ourselves is to know our defects, is to know who we are. So it's very important not to, by using the sociological perspective, we get to know why we are like this and why other people are also like that, which will also lead us to respect other people. Then another application is this can help us analyze social issues. Using the sociological imagination, it allows us to connect our personal experiences with broader societal issues. When analyzing social problems, this perspective helps us to see how individual challenges such as unemployment or inequality are linked to larger social, economic, and political structures. So we analyze social issues when we already have when we have the sociological imagination in our context. We can move beyond viewing social issues or as isolated or personal to us, but we understand them now as outcomes of complex societal processes. This understanding is crucial for developing effective solutions to social problems. So that's why social sciences, sociologists, one of their mandate is actually to help the society, because with all this you'll be able to analyze social issues. And then another application is you will able to understand social change. This is really grounded from the Karl Marx perspective of conflict theory. Social change here refers to the transformation of cultural, social, economic, and political structures over time. So whether we like it or not, there is always social change as cultural change is also present. Now, understanding social change involves examining how individuals and groups influence these transformations, whether by driving progress or by resisting to it. So, social change is inevitable. These are social movements and all. No? Now, by studying these dynamics, we can better understand the forces that shape our society. Again, as what I have mentioned, that sociological imagination and sociological perspective views self as a product of the society, as a product of cultural norms and all, and change also as a product still of these societal factors, and the bigger societal influences. So this is how we can apply the sociological perspective to our daily lives and to our understanding of what the self is. Now, to conclude, the importance of applying the sociological perspective with understanding the self and society is for us to have a deeper understanding of both, the self and the society. The perspective allows us to see beyond our individual experiences and recognize the influence of societal forces on our behavior, attitudes, and opportunities. By examining this, we can better understand the root causes of social issues and the interconnectedness of our personal and public challenges. So that is why this is very important. We try to link in here we can link our personal to the broader concept of the society. And another conclusion here is this becomes an encouragement not to continue applying sociological thinking in our daily life. So it can enhance our ability to critically analyze the world around us. It encourages us to question assumptions, recognize patterns of inequality, or understand broader context of our actions and decisions. By regularly using our sociological perspective, we can become conscious of how our behaviors are influenced by social norms and how our society is working, and social issues, conflict, and solutions. Now, this mindset fosters a more reflective and socially aware approach to life, empowering us to make more informed and ethical choices. So that is the beauty of having this sociological imagination thing. Now, that is sociological perspective. Um, the main uh, quote for here should be, the main learning should be that our self is actually, aside from philosophical perspective, is also uh, influenced by our society. We are a product of these societal factors in play. We are a product of these societal factors in play. Okay, so thank you, and to the next session.